Hey bookworms, happy 2019! Oh my god, I can't believe 2018 is already over. I read lots of books in 2018. Some of them were amazing, some of them were awful, a lot of them were somewhere in the middle. So this is going to be the last year's recap, my favorite and least favorite books that I've read in the past year. Now, mind you, especially if you're new to my channel, I rarely read the latest books, so almost every single book on this list was not actually written in 2018, but I read it in 2018. I'll only say a few words on each book, so if you're intrigued, I will link all the full reviews in the description box. I did a review on each and every book, but without any further ado, let's start with the best books that I've read in 2018 in ascending order. Number 5 is An English Ghost Story by Kim Newman. A family moves into a new house only to find out it's haunted. Sounds familiar, right? Well, not when it comes to Kim Newman, that once again showed that he can create wonderful and creepy stories with really great, compelling characters. Kim Newman is beginning to rise up on my list of favorite authors, and I love this book and I can't wait to read some more books by him. Number 4 is Elantris by Sanderson. This is a fantasy novel that will take me way too long to explain what exactly it's about, but suffice to say that the world building is fantastic with interesting, rich cultures. But what really makes this book are the characters, and each one of them, protagonists or villains, are interesting, compelling, and well written. Number 3 is Midnight and the Bright Ideas Bookstore by Matthew Sullivan. This is a book about a young woman who works in a bookshop who tries to find out why did a customer hang himself in the middle of the store. This is one of those books that just clicked right with me. However, I'm aware that not everyone will react as positively as I did to it. But I don't know, there's something about this trauma and death-filled book that just felt cozy for me for some weird reason, and I'm just really glad I found this gem. At number 2 we have The Outsider by Stephen King. I've said it before, with Stephen King I either really love his books or really hate them, but this time I think I found one of my favorite of his other than Dolores Claiborne. In this fantasy horror, we have a few characters from a police chief to a private investigator and a lawyer who are trying to find out who tortured and murdered a small child. As within Elantris, what really makes this book are the wonderful character. Each one of them is a world of their own. Each one of them struggles with his own demons. And at number 1, my favorite book that I've read in 2018, and also I think the oldest book on this list, was the surprising Watership Down by Richard Adams. Honestly, people, I never thought that a book about rabbits wandering around trying to find a new home will get me so emotional and so hyped. But this book, it was just so amazing, so wonderful in every way. Don't worry if you heard of or seen the gruesome movie. This book does have some scary or sad moments, but definitely not as much as in the film. And this is definitely a classic worth reading. Okay, so those were the books that made me happy and scared, but in a good way. Now let's talk about the 5 books that made me want to facepalm, again in ascending order. At number 5 of the worst books that I've read in 2018, we have Popco by Scarlett Thomas. This is what happens when a very smart person writes a book without realizing that most people don't like to be looked down upon. The protagonist of Popco is so antagonizing, and the entire book just felt so preachy, like it was trying to force you to think the same way the protagonist does, and I can only assume the author does as well. This book was an annoying mess, a very interesting one, but a mess nonetheless. Number 4 is Origin by Dan Brown. The only reason that this book isn't higher on the list is because, let's face it, I should have known it will be that bad. I generally like Dan Brown's style, his riddles, his scavenger hunt style books, but they never really appear in this book. This was just a rehash wannabe of the Da Vinci Code, and it was just uninteresting and underwhelming. Number 3 is Bird Box by Josh Mellerman. I think it's kind of funny, if you watch my actual review on Bird Box, I do start by saying that I'm not sure if I like it or not, and looking backwards, I do think that I should have given it a few days or at least some times to really think it over, because the more I think about this book, the more I realize just how antagonizing and how just bad it was. Like, the characters were bad, the pacing was annoying, it was extremely just antagonizing. And it's kind of funny how you see on my review that I start by saying that it's not as bad as I thought it would be, and I talk about the positives, but at the end of the book I'm practically shouting because I'm so irritated with what's going on with this book. Number 2 is, unfortunately, The Oyster Thief by Sonia Faruqi. This is sad because the base of the plot sounds really interesting and it does have potential. But the writing was bad, the characters had either zero logic or one of a very small child, and the world building was completely weak and uninteresting, not to mention that it has a romance that has absolutely no base to it. This book was supposed to sweep you off your feet, but end up just being childish and disappointing. And number 1, the worst book that I've read in 2018 was Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. This book is just bad from every possible angle. It was a huge mess when it comes to the plot and the characters and the focus. And honestly, I kind of feel sorry for Sarah Hawkins, because my personal theory is that she was pressured to write another book very quickly after the success of The Girl on the Train, but nonetheless, this book was just a huge mess. And that's it, guys. Those were my favorite and least favorite books that I've read in 2018. I want to know which ones did you read, which one you really loved, or which ones you really hated. And of course, I'm aware that it's all a matter of taste and opinion. I can only imagine that I raved about some of the books that you hated, or ranted and really hated on some books that you really loved. Don't take it too personally, it's a matter of taste, but feel free to comment down below to contradict me and tell me how wrong I was about any of those books. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you like it. I hope you had a great 2018, that unlike me, you managed to get some sleep between Sylvester and the New Year's. And I wish us all a year filled with some really great books and some really awful ones to rant about, because this is important. Anyway guys, thank you again for watching. Don't forget to click like and show your support, to subscribe to my channel if you dare, and I will see you on my next video. Bye bye.